Welcome to Chad's Kitchen. Chad Cracker here. First step to making good homemade bread is I put it in a bag. I transfer the contents of the flour into the bag. Is full of flour. All that flour fit into this bag, okay? And I'm gonna use this. I have, I could use this thing, that's a stainless steel mixing bowl. It's got a lid on it, but it's kind of cold right now. It's kind of wintry cold, and the stainless steel is too cold. It doesn't retain heat or anything, whereas this blue, whatever it's made of, some kind of stuff, this blue bowl for some reason is just so much better when you're trying to get your dough to rise and you've only got a couple of hours. This is going to be the quick rise yeast recipe. So I put it in this blue bowl, and sometimes what I'll do is I'll put it in a little bit of hot water or warm water, or I'll just set it by the fire over there. So okay, so now I'm gonna do 3 cups of flour, and I like to put it in this bag. The reason why the paper sack doesn't work for me, and why I don't use like a hard plastic container or glass or some other kind of container to store my flour in, I just find the Ziploc bag is perfect because it holds the shape open. I don't have to hold the thing open. It creates a nice little mouth for me to scoop my flour out of. And let me see if I can do this. I'm gonna set the camera down. Hopefully I don't lose the shot. Is what I can do with this bag is I don't need a knife. I can just literally flatten my measuring cup out, and everything just goes right back into the bag, and there I've got a perfect cup. Okay, so now I got my little 3 cups of flour in the frickin' bowl, and this is what's about to happen next. Right here we have this thing, a TSP, 5 milliliters if you're British. All right, and we're gonna do one of these in here, and then I'm gonna do one of these. This is the everything but the bagel sesame seasoning blend. It is so good in the bread. And I'm gonna do some iodized salt. I like to use sea salt in cooking. A lot of people have migrated to primarily using sea salt and big rock salts in their cooking. I got this pink Himalayan salt and all that other stuff, but it's not iodized, okay? And this salt supplies iodide, a necessary nutrient, with, in the ingredients you got calcium silicate and potassium iodide. So I don't get enough potassium iodide because I'm always using all those organic salts. Okay, so now we've got all that stuff in here, and you see the yellow stuff? I just added, this is my little secret ingredient that I like to put. I like to add it in a lot of things. It's so good in salads and baking, but lemon zest, that is so good. You gotta put that in your bread, and it'll give a nice, smooth flavor that ties in with all the other things that are going on with that, but it really opens up your palate in a unique way and allows you to enjoy all the other flavors in there. So there's that going on in here. This particular recipe, I'm gonna do something. I got some finely chopped fresh basil here, okay, which I chopped up before recording this because I can only hold the camera with one hand and chop. I need 2 hands to chop. I'm gonna add some onion powder, okay, because the reason for that is, first of all, the onion powder is really good in the bread mix. And second of all, the freshly chopped basil is kind of wet, and I don't want that to make my flour kind of chunky, too chunky. I want to just to kind of smoothly mix it in as a dry ingredient, but I want the flavor of fresh basil, not the flat flavor of like dried basil flakes or whatever you buy from the store. So, but add some onion powder to sort of absorb some of that moisture and make it mix easy. I've also decided to add garlic powder because garlic goes so well with basil, and so you can see that is mixing together really well. And then, as Gordon Ramsay would say, basil in. Okay, so I just added the fresh basil with the garlic and onion powder, and I've just been mixing it up a little bit. One of the great things about this everything but the bagel sesame seasoning blend from Trader Joe's is it has these dark black sesame seeds, okay, and it kind of helps me see how well my mixing is. And when you look at my bowl, you see some of those dark sesame seeds, those black sesame seeds. It kind of gives it this look of ermine, like that, you know, that spotted royal fur, you know. And that also tells me how evenly distributed my ingredients are getting. And I think I'm doing pretty good. And I'm about to add 1.5 cups of warm water. So this recipe calls for 1.5 cups of warm water, but as you can see, I'm using something else. And I don't know what you're thinking, but what I'm using is a little Chardonnay, $2.99 from Trader Joe's. I love this Chardonnay actually because it comes with this kind of a cap, and I can just pop the cap back in. When I'm using wine for cooking, I go for like a cheap screw top or something that's got an easy twist cork that goes back in. And instead of warm water, I'm actually going to use Chardonnay because it's going to be a little sugar to it, a little flavor. It's not too high in alcohol, so that it's not going to complicate the process too much. But to me, it's just a little bit of a shade, half a step up from water. And I'm just warming it up here on the Nespresso, the milk frother thingy, whatever that thing is called. Okay, are you ready for the close-up pour? I'm pouring in the warm wine. Oh, there it goes. That's 1.5 cups of lovely Chardonnay into this mix. Will never be the same. It's about to take on a new life. Okay, so before I start to mix this, I want to show you my utensils. I am not going to use this thing. I'm not going to put it in a mixing bowl. But what I start with is this. This is actually one of these, and I actually cut the top of it off because I had used it in a food processor and ended up getting cut, so I just went and got a new one, and instead of throwing this away, I cut, you can see I cut about, I don't know, 1/5 of the top off, whatever, shave the top off, but it turned out to be this really useful thing, and I use it. Look how perfect this is. It slides around, but what's important about having the flat tip is when I get to the bottom, it really helps me move, because this thing is a little flimsy. Okay, it's a little too flimsy, but having it's like a sawed-off shotgun, just gives it a little more power. Okay, so I'm gonna try to mix this on the floor so you can see what I'm doing. So what I do is I take this and I spin. You get all these little things start to build up on the side, and I'm just taking my flat-tipped spatula utensil thing that I kind of customized myself, and I'm using this to keep all the dough going into itself. And I don't want a bunch of gooey stuff stuck to the sides. Okay. So I'm gonna do that for a little bit. Let's see here, I'm just gonna do that. I'm gonna turn the bowl, and this really helps me get underneath it too, this particular utensil, and I find it much more effective. I've even got one of these guys. I find it much better. It may start to feel like it's gonna separate. Just kind of pack it down, punch it through the middle. One thing I like to do is I kind of like to do kind of a spiral shape in my dough. You see that? I kind of go around and I do that, and then I fold it back into itself. And then I make sure I'm getting under there. I've got a lot of dough hiding at the bottom. I'm gonna get all that stuff in. Make sure I've got the right amount of flour in my dough ball. And you know, big or small, short or tall, we can all have a ball. The Chad Crocker Show. And then I'll bring in this his cousin, and we'll double team it, and you just kind of work it over till you get a good ball going. Another thing that's good about having the two utensils is I use them together, and sometimes I use this one to get the dough off of the other one. So that kind of works. I use them in tandem. Just a little tip. Okay, so I think I'm done mixing. This is pretty much what it looks like. You can see the sides and the edges around my bowl are pretty clean. There's not a lot of stuff stuck to them. And I've got, there's no powder hanging out at the bottom, hiding underneath. So I've got it mixed together pretty well. And, you know, it smells kind of good, actually. I'd like to kind of eat some of it now like it was cookie dough, but that'd be kind of disgusting. And I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna let it rise. So I'm just gonna actually love this container for one reason, because I can easily put this pot lid, fits perfectly on there, and then I can eyeball it through the window. So you do whatever you got in your kitchen, but that's what's working for me. And I'm gonna park this over by the fire to let it rise for a couple hours. Cheers. So we got the pizza stone getting warmed up in the oven here at 450, okay? Meanwhile, I moved the dough to the sink. It's in some warm water. It's actually not that hot, but you can tell how cold it is in the kitchen by looking at all the steam. So, you know, I'm just gonna finish it up here while I warm up my pizza stone, because dinner is ready. Otherwise, I'm just waiting on the bread. And so anyway, timing is everything. Cooking, comedy, romance, it's all about timing, folks. Okay, I just got this thing out on the counter. I don't want to leave it on there too long, otherwise it will start asking me for things. I'm just gonna put a little bit of dough, and I'm just gonna roll it a couple of times. All right, I'm not gonna make a big deal out of it. This is the no knead recipe. Oh, that is falling up so beautifully. This might be my best one yet. I'm just kind of rolling it in a little, like it's, you know, it's just the wobbly center of the universe. And let's see, wow, look at that. Oh, that's great. And then I'm just gonna kind of, I'm just having fun with this thing right now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna plop this on the frickin' pizza stone. Stat, so that's where it's at. Let's see what happens. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. Usually I pull the pizza stone out, but for the purposes of video, I'm just gonna try to do it one-handed. There we go, just like that. There it is. All right. And we'll see what happens. Talk to you in a few minutes. There you have it, folks. 35 minutes at 450 on the pizza stone. So it's starting to smell good already, actually. And I'm so excited. We'll see what happens in 35 minutes. Okay, here we are, 20 minutes into it. We still have 15 minutes to go of baking time. Oh, and it's looking terrible. Oh my God. Houston, we have a problem. I'm just kidding. It's looking beautiful. It's looking great. Look at that. Oh, it's coming along. And as we continue baking over the next few minutes, it'll start to get a more consistently black color all over it. Fresh out of the oven, look at this. This is what you're looking for, something that's nice, got an even consistency of color all around. And it's gorgeous, like a piece of art. Almost like, it's like you can kind of see. Oh my God, is that Elvis? There's a little slice of life. Look at the crust all the way around. It's gorgeous and it smells so good. There's just this aroma of a multitude of flavors. I'm gonna actually, what I like to do is rest them up like this. Okay, and that way the moisture, there's moisture still coming out of that. I don't know if you can see, no you can't, but you can feel it. You can feel the heat. And what I want is that moisture just to kind of go up, and that warmth to circulate upward within the crust. I don't want it to just escape, and that'll even encourage the flavors even more. Flavor encouragement, that's what it's all about. Just cut a couple of slices here. I don't know if you can see, there's steam rising out. You see that? pretty cool. And, it's gonna be awesome. That is what your butter is gonna melt on, or you can do some olive oil. I'm gonna do a little olive oil. Yeah, just gonna be so good. Oh boy. It's a hard knock life for us. Dinner is served, and just put it right all on this pizza's done. And this is some caramelized pomegranate molasses. That's something you need to get a hold of and have in your repertoire. Cheers.